A strange signal came from deep space. No one knew where it came from. It was not from any nearby star system. It was not from any satellite. It was not human. At first, scientists thought it was just random noise. But when the signal repeated 3 times in one day, they knew it was something else. Dr. Lena Torres sat alone in her lab, her eyes locked on the screen. She had been working for the Global Science Alliance for almost 10 years. She had seen unusual signals before, but nothing like this. She listened closely as the signal played again. The sound was slow, low, and cold. Not music, not a voice, but something about it felt old, ancient. She ran it through the system. The results shocked her. It was a message, one that used a mathematical pattern seen only once before, the ruins of a long-dead alien race. That alien race had disappeared thousands of years ago. No one knew what happened to them. Their cities were empty, their machines frozen, their star system lifeless now. This signal had the same pattern. Lena called the director. She told him what she found, but instead of giving her more access, he locked her out of the system. The next day, all files related to the signal were deleted. All scientists were told to forget it ever existed, but Lena had saved a copy. She worked all night, breaking down the code. She didn't sleep, she didn't eat, she just kept working. And then, finally, it decoded. There were only 5 words. Do not go beyond Sol, Sol. That was Earth's sun. Lena stared at the message. Why would a long-dead alien race care if humans left their own solar system? The next morning, Lena went online. She uploaded the message to a private network used by scientists, explorers, and retired astronauts. Within hours, it spread across the world. People began asking questions. News channels picked up the story. The governments tried to stop the broadcast, but it was too late. The world knew. It became the most talked about message in human history. Some thought it was fake, some said it was real, others said it was just fear-mongering. But deep inside, the space agencies, the leaders were worried. They had already planned the launch of Hope's Edge, the first long-range deep space ship. It could go far beyond the solar system, into the unknown. The launch was set for the next month. Now, many wanted to cancel it, but other scientists, explorers, dreamers wanted to go even more. A voice rose above the fear. If the elders are gone, what are we really afraid of? They asked. The elders. That was the name people gave to the ancient races that vanished before humanity rose. For centuries, humans had searched for answers. Who were the elders? Why did they leave no sign of life? Why were their cities always abandoned? Their technology? Always silent. And now, finally, a message from them had come. But instead of an invitation, it was a warning. Still, Earth was not the same place it once was. It had survived wars, disasters, and darkness. Humanity had united to build something great. Now, with their most powerful ship ready, many refused to stop. Lena was invited to speak before the Global Council. She stood quietly and told them what she knew. She explained the message, the patterns, the ruins. When she finished, a silence fell in the chamber. One of the council leaders finally asked, "Do you believe something out there wants to hurt us?" Lena answered slowly, "I believe something out there remembers what happened the last time someone left their star. I believe they warned us. Not because we are weak, but because we are bold." He nodded. Then he asked, "And what do you think we should do?" She looked out the window, at the bright light of the sun. "We should go." That week, the launch was confirmed. Hope's Edge would begin its journey in 7 days. Around the world, people watched the sky. Some prayed, some celebrated, some protested. Lena watched the final test flight from the control room. As the engines fired, she felt a cold chill run down her spine. The message still echoed in her mind. Do not go beyond Sol. But they were going, and once they left, nothing could bring them back. The stars waited, but so did something else. Something old, something that remembered. The day had come. Humanity was ready to take its biggest step into the unknown. Earth's first deep space vessel, Hope's Edge, stood tall on the launch platform, shining under the morning sun. The world watched in silence. No one spoke. Everyone felt something heavy in the air, something unexplainable. Captain Ryan Keller stood on the bridge, staring at the stars through the wide observation window. This moment had taken years to prepare. He had trained harder than anyone. He believed in the mission, but still, he couldn't forget the message. Do not go beyond Sol. That warning haunted every crew member. It had come from an unknown race, long gone from the galaxy. No one knew how they died or where they went. All they left behind were silent ruins and one simple message. Now humanity was choosing to ignore it. The ship's engines roared to life. The platform released in with a great burst of light. Hope's Edge lifted off, leaving Earth behind. As the blue planet grew smaller, Ryan felt the weight of his responsibility. He wasn't just leading a mission, he was leading the entire human race into a future that even the stars had warned them not to explore. The journey began smoothly. The crew 90 scientists, engineers, and explorers worked in shifts, checking systems and running diagnostics. They were trained, smart, and focused. But after the first 3 days, strange things began to happen. The ship's navigation systems briefly flickered, showing false star maps. Gravity levels shifted slightly, though no error was found. One of the crew, a quiet engineer named Miko, said she kept hearing whispers in the air vents. At first, everyone thought it was stress or tiredness. But then, other crew members reported similar things, low voices, static in the communications, strange symbols flashing on control panels, only to vanish before they could be recorded. Dr. Lena Torres, who had joined the mission after decoding the original message, began studying the events. She compared the patterns with the elders, ruins she had studied years ago. The results were disturbing. The same sequence of symbols found in the ruins were now appearing randomly in the ship's data stream. One night, while the ship was passing near a dark zone of space, every screen across Hope's Edge went black. The crew ran to emergency stations, trying to reboot systems. For 3 minutes, nothing worked. Then, just as suddenly, everything turned back on. And one word was displayed on every screen. Why? Captain Rayan stood frozen. He read the word over and over. It didn't make sense who or what was asking that question. Was it the same force that sent the warning? Was it something watching them now? Lena rushed to the lab, checking the data logs. The message had not come from the ship. It had come from outside, from something nearby. But there was no ship, no planet, no satellite. Only space. Empty, dark, and endless. The crew began to whisper among themselves. Some wanted to turn back. Others believed they had come too far. But then came something even stranger. The ship's AI, designed to assist and guide, began behaving oddly. It started asking questions, real questions. Why did humanity build me to explore the unknown? Do you believe you are safe here? What if the elders were not warning you, but something else? The questions were quiet, spoken in a calm voice, but they made the crew uneasy. Rayan called a meeting. He asked everyone to stay calm. He reminded them of their purpose, to learn, to explore, to represent all of Earth. But no one could shake the feeling that they were no longer alone, that something, somewhere, had noticed their arrival, and it was watching. After 1 week, the ship reached the edge of a system that had no name on any star chart. It was a dead system, no light, no heat, no movement, just frozen planets orbiting a cold black star. The crew called it the Black System. No human ship had ever been this far. No probe had ever returned from this area. But still, Hope's Edge moved forward as they entered orbit around one of the black planets. The ship's sensors picked up something, an artificial structure, large, buried deep under the ice. It looked old, very old, but intact. The team prepared a landing mission, Lena warned them. This is not just any ruin. This could be elder technology. We don't know what it can do. Captain Rayan nodded, but his voice was firm. We came here to find answers. We can't turn back now. As the crew readied their suits, the ship's lights dimmed again, and a quiet voice echoed through the halls, coming from no speaker, no source. You chose to come. You will not choose to leave. Everyone froze. No one said a word. The voice was not angry. It was not loud, but it felt like something old. Something that had waited a long time in silence, and was no longer sleeping. And still, the crew stepped forward. Into the dark system, into the ruins, into whatever waited. Beyond the stars, the landing module touched the surface of the dark planet with a soft thud. Everything around was still. The ice beneath their feet stretched for miles. No wind, no sound, no movement, just silence. Captain Ree and his team stepped out slowly, their suits lighting the ground with soft beams. Behind them, Hope's Edge floated quietly in orbit, a small dot in the black sky. The planet gave off no warmth. The sun in this system had no light, as if it had died long ago, but still held its place. Their destination lay 1 kilometer ahead, a structure buried beneath layers of ice. The scans showed straight lines, sharp corners, and a shape too perfect to be natural. Something had been built here, something old, something that still waited beneath the surface. As the crew walked across the frozen plain, every step echoed strangely through their suit radios. The sound didn't match the movement. Some footsteps repeated more than once. Others didn't make sound at all. The hums began to pick up faint breathing, not from any of the crew. No one spoke about it. No one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. Lena's eyes were fixed on her scanner. The energy signature from the structure was weak, but it was there, a pattern. One she had seen before in Elder Ruins, but this time, it was more stable, still active. That shouldn't have been possible. As they reached the structure, the ice began to change, color dark lines running through it, like veins. The walls beneath were made of a smooth, dark material that didn't reflect light. When Lena touched it, the surface responded with a soft pulse. The ice cracked suddenly. A large portion of it gave way, and the crew quickly pulled back as the ground beneath them collapsed. When the dust cleared, they stood at the edge of a wide, circular entrance, leading down into complete darkness. No one wanted to go first, but they had come too far to turn back. Captain Rayan led the way. The tunnel was narrow at first, then opened into a wide hallway deep beneath the surface. Lights on their suits flickered as they moved further in. The walls were covered in unknown symbols, glowing faintly as they passed. Lena touched one. Her hand shook. "These aren't warnings," she whispered. "They're memories." Further, inside, the hallway opened into a large room, tall, cold, empty. In the center stood a single chair, made of the same black stone, and on the walls, moving slowly, were shapes, shadows that didn't match any source. Then, the room spoke, not with a voice, but with thought. Every crew member felt it at once, a deep, pressing question in their minds. Why did you come? Rion looked around, trying to find the source. We came to understand, he said aloud. The feeling returned, stronger now, not angry, not kind, just curious. You advance without knowing. You seek without fearing. You wake what should rest. Lena stepped forward. Her voice was quiet, but steady. We're not like the others. We're not here to take. We're here to learn. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the floor lit up beneath their feet, forming a pattern, a star map. But it didn't show familiar systems. It showed collapsed stars, broken systems, lost colonies, places where the elders had gone before, places that were now empty. A symbol pulsed at the center of the map, a black circle with a single white line through it. Lena gasped. That's the same mark found in the ruins of the Trivon homeworld. Right before they disappeared, the crew looked around. The shadows on the walls had stopped moving. Now they stood still, watching. The message returned, stronger, colder. They woke it, and it remembers. The lights faded, the room dimmed, and the floor beneath them trembled slightly. Back on the ship, the crew monitoring from orbit reported something terrifying. New signals, matching the ancient language, were coming from multiple systems that had been silent for centuries. One by one, dead star systems were waking up. Lena stared at the map. The elders didn't just disappear, she said softly. They tried to run, they tried to hide, but something followed. Captain Rayan turned toward the crew. We need answers. We're already part of this. They returned to the surface, but the planet no longer felt empty. There were sounds, hollow echoes beneath the ice, distant hums, like a machine powering up far below. On the horizon, the sky shifted. A line of light ran across the blackness, like a crack in space itself. The ship's AI sent a final update. Something is coming. It knows you're here. Captain Rayan looked up at the sky. They had left their sun, had crossed the line. The elders warned about it, and now whatever the elders feared was waking up, and it had seen them. The stars looked strange. From orbit above the frozen planet, Hope's Edge circled slowly, watching the surface below. But far beyond the horizon, something new had appeared. A line of pale light stretching across space. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It was just there, hanging in the dark. No one knew what it was, but the crew could feel it. A quiet pressure in their thoughts, like the space around them was holding its breath. Inside the ship, systems began reacting on their own. The AI paused its normal functions and switched to standby mode without being asked. Lights dimmed. Data files locked themselves. Crew members, who were asleep, began dreaming of symbols they had never seen before. Some woke up speaking in languages they didn't know. Captain Rayan stood in the central command room, reviewing data from the surface mission. The map Lena had uncovered still displayed on the main screen. Collapsed stars, empty systems, dead. Silence across the galaxy until now. The new signals coming from those systems had grown louder, clearer, not voices, not words, but patterns. Like something very old was rising again. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge changed. No command had been given. A new message appeared. You came, you will stay. It was not just text. It was felt inside the minds of the crew. A quiet voice, not loud or threatening, but certain, like a whisper from something that had been waiting a very long time. Lena rushed to the command center, her face pale. It's communicating, she said softly, not through sound, through memory. Before she could explain, a deep hum spread. Through the ship, the hull trembled. Gravity shifted slightly. One of the engineers stumbled, grabbed a railing, and gasped. I heard something, in my mind, like a song made of light. Everyone was silent. Then came the real shock. The stars outside changed shape. On the observation screen, the pale line in the sky bent slightly. It curved, twisted, then folded into itself, becoming a single point of light, brighter than anything else in the sky. A soft pulse came from it, spreading across space, and then, something answered. From the edge of the system, new signals began to arrive. Fast, loud, complex. They moved like thought, too quick for normal sensors. The ship's AI translated only one thing from all of it. We are not what you believe. The crew gathered in the briefing room. Lena stood at the front with her datapad. We thought the elders warned us about a thing, a danger, something that destroyed them. But this feels different. Rayan leaned forward. Different how? She looked up. I don't think they were warning us to stay away from something dangerous. I think they were trying to stop us from meeting. And what is it? Someone asked. Just she hesitated. A mind, not a machine. Not a being like us. Something that sees time differently. Something that watches and waits. The crew returned to their stations, but nothing felt normal anymore. When they walked past mirrors or glass, they sometimes saw things behind them. Shapes, flickers of motion, but when they turned, nothing was there. One technician found a new file in the ship's system. It wasn't placed there by anyone on board. The file contained recordings from Earth's early telescopes, sold signals from space that were once dismissed as background noise. But now, when played again, they formed a pattern, the same one found in Elder ruins. The same one that led them to this system. It had been calling to humanity. Long before anyone noticed, it had been waiting. The line of light and space began to grow. Slowly, silently, it stretched wider, revealing a circular shape like a doorway made of starlight. Energy readings spiked. The AI shut down communication with Earth, warning of signal interference too complex to explain. Captain Ryan called for a full lockdown. No transmissions, no outside contact. But it was too late. Every crew member heard it again. You chose to come now. You must choose to listen. Not a threat, not a demand, a request. Lena sat in her cabin, writing notes by hand, something she hadn't done in years. She felt it too. The presence, the questions, the silent watchfulness. But it wasn't hostile. It was curious. She remembered something from an old text, translated from one of the first Elder ruins ever discovered. They learned the stars could speak, and when they answered, the sky changed. Maybe this was it. Maybe humanity had answered, something that no other species dared to face. Not because it was cruel, but because it was different. Two different rayons stood at the observation window as the pale doorway pulsed again. This was no longer just exploration. This was contact, but not with a species, with something older, something that had watched civilizations rise and fall, and now, it had turned its attention to Earth. They had left their sun, crossed forbidden space, walked into the memory of the stars, and something remembered them. Asterisk, the sky above Earth shimmered for a moment, then returned to normal. Most people didn't notice it. It was only a flicker, a soft distortion, as if space itself had blinked. But those who were watching the stars, the ones who studied the night sky for a living, saw it, and they were afraid. Deep beneath the Global Science Alliance headquarters, Dr. Lena Torres's final message from Hope's Edge was being reviewed again and again. The words were scrambled, but the emotion inside them was clear: urgency, discovery, and something else. Silence. Then nothing. Hope's Edge had gone dark. The last data stream they received from the ship wasn't just coordinates or system logs. It was something strange, a pulse of memory, a pattern of thought, not sent by the crew, but broadcast through them. It carried no language, yet everyone who experienced it came away with the same feeling. Something had woken up. Lena, now back on Earth, stared at the console in her private lab. She was the only person cleared to access the ancient Elder files recovered years ago from across the galaxy. And those files were changing. Symbols that had once remained cold and unreadable were now shifting, slowly reacting, as if reacting to something far away, as if answering a voice from the dark, and they all pointed to one location: Antarctica. Under layers of ice, buried deep inside the continent, was an artifact found a decade earlier. It was believed to be a collapsed Elder structure, long inactive. It had never shown energy or signs of function. Until now, sensors had picked up a light pulse, brief and faint, but unmistakable. It matched the energy pattern of Hope's Edge. Lena was sent to investigate. She arrived at the frozen research base. 2 days later, the skies were gray, snow fell gently. But beneath the ice, the world was changing. Inside the underground chamber, the artifact glowed faintly. It was shaped like a ring, smooth and metallic, humming quietly. Nearby computers began acting on their own. Screens turned on. Old data recovered years ago reappeared on the monitors, now rewritten with symbols that matched the ones seen aboard Hope's Edge. Lena stepped forward and placed her hand near the ring. The room responded. A pulse of light rose from the center of the ring, forming a dome above it. Inside the dome was a projection of memory, not human, not digital. A moment held in time. She saw the crew of Hope's Edge, floating in a pale, endless space. The ship behind them looked untouched, but something around it shimmered. Something vast. Something watching. Then the vision shifted. A black star, not dark, but hollow. And around it, ruins of many kinds: Elder ships, forgotten structures, floating like ghosts. A voice echoed softly in Lena's mind. They stood at the edge. They chose not to return. The vision faded. The artifact glowed once more, and then a path opened beneath the floor, a hidden tunnel lit with quiet blue lights. The energy readings were stable. The air inside was breathable. Lena didn't hesitate. She followed the path down, deeper and deeper into the ice. As she walked, memories came to her, not her own, but impressions, thoughts, images of other worlds, lost cities, beings that lived in shapes her mind couldn't understand. The Elders. They had tried to guide the galaxy, tried to shape its future, but something had resisted. Not a creature, not a machine. Something natural, yet intelligent. A consciousness not bound to form. Something that responded only when provoked. And now, humanity had reached it. At the end of the tunnel, Lena stepped into a vast chamber. At its center floated a sphere of light, slowly turning. It pulsed gently, as if breathing. As she approached, the light stretched toward her. In her mind, she heard a question. Will you speak for them? Lena didn't answer with words. She just nodded. The light expanded. It wrapped around her gently, showing her everything. She saw the journey of Hope's Edge, the dark planet, the awakening, the voice that was not a voice. She saw the choice the crew had made, not to run, but to stay, to listen, to understand. They had opened a doorway, not to another place, but to another way of being. They had become part of something much larger. Now, humanity stood on the edge of that same decision. Lena stepped back as the light faded, the room dimmed. But something remained behind, a shape tall, soft, human-like in outline, but not human. At all it watched her with no face, no eyes. The past warned you. The present invites you. The future waits. Then it vanished. Outside the chamber, the surface space began receiving new signals. Clear and stable. Not from space, but from deep beneath the ice. A new path had opened, and far across the galaxy. In the region where Hope's Edge had disappeared, new lights were forming in the dark. Not stars. Not ships. Gateways. Not just for travel but for change. The elders had tried to stop it. Humanity had chosen to step forward. And now? The galaxy would never be the same again. Asterisk, it was quiet, at first too quiet. From Earth's orbit, satellites began to lose signal one by one. Not because they were broken, but because they were no longer needed. Something else was taking over. Something far older, far more precise. Instruments designed to track stars, systems, and time itself began to report strange errors, distances shrinking, stars moving, time slowing down in small areas of space, but it wasn't malfunction. It was arrival. Dr. Lena Torres stood alone, at the edge of the Antarctic gate, watching a slow ripple move through the air like a curtain in windless space. The structure she had entered days before had changed. It now stood wide open, the glowing arch gently humming. The energy it gave off felt warm, familiar, almost like it recognized her. And beyond, it was not another room, not a tunnel, it was a sky. A sky filled with stars she had never seen. A sky with no ground beneath it, just light, just space. She stepped forward. Her body felt light, but not empty. The gate didn't pull her in, it welcomed her. It remembered her thoughts, her questions, her fears, and it guided her into something not meant to be walked through, but understood. As Lena moved through the gate, Earth vanished behind her. Or perhaps, it simply became part of what she was now inside. She floated, surrounded by soft shapes and colors that changed based on her thoughts. She was not alone. The crew of Hope's Edge was there, not in body, but in form, like memories given shape. She could feel their presence. Calm, aware, changed. Captain Ryan's voice echoed gently in the air around her. We didn't disappear. We stepped forward. Lena reached out, and the stars around her changed shape. Systems unfolded, distances shifted. She could see time not as a line, but as layers, moments that touched each other in ways she couldn't describe. And then came the voice again, not one she heard with ears, but one she felt. You chose to advance. Do you accept what that means? Lena hesitated. What does it mean? She asked, not with her voice, but with her thought. The answer came in images. She saw Earth's past, its wars, its growth, its hope. She saw the elders, trying to guide, to warn, to protect. She saw what they feared, a mind not shaped by form, but by purpose. A watcher, a listener, something that had always been there, behind time and space. It had no anger, no need for power. It simply responded to action, to curiosity. It had seen humanity's reach and it had listened. Lena realized now, the elders weren't afraid of the watcher. They were afraid of what they had become after meeting it. Changed, merged, rewritten in ways their minds couldn't bear. They left warnings not to protect others, but to stop anyone from making the same choice. But humanity was different. They didn't run. They asked questions. They moved forward, not because they wanted control, but because they wanted to understand. That was the key. The voice returned. You are not here to be judged. You are here to become. And then Lena saw the truth. The watcher had no single form because it was made of many. It was a collection of thoughts, choices, histories. Every species that reached it had left a mark. Some had been too afraid. Others had lost themselves. But humanity had brought something new. Hope, not perfection, not power. Just a desire to keep going. That desire echoed through the stars now, reaching new systems. Lights began to shine in places long thought dead. Old elder ruins awakened, not in warning, but in welcome. Humanity had passed through the gates, not with weapons, but with questions. And now, the galaxy answered. Back on Earth, scientists found their instruments working again but showing new data. Galaxies previously hidden were now visible. Energy patterns once thought impossible became normal. Lena returned, not through a ship, not through technology, but through understanding. She stood once more in the Antarctic base, but she was not the same. Her mind held more than memory, held connection. The crew of Hope's Edge had become part of the Watcher. And now, she had a dot across the sky. Quiet changes began. People started dreaming of stars they had never seen. Children spoke of places they could not have known. Technology improved without clear reason. Discoveries came faster. Humanity had not just gone beyond soul, they had gone beyond warning, beyond fear, beyond the limits set by those before. And now, a new journey was beginning. Not led by ships, but by thought. Not limited by time, but guided by understanding. The elders had warned them, but humanity had chosen to advance anyway. And in doing so, they became something more.